Good afternoon again, everybody. We'll start this session with 3 presentations, and we will start with the first one that it is entitled in terms of, it's in Portuguese, but I think at this time probably most of the audience that are Portuguese language. So that name is entitled Gestão da Reputação e Legitimidade para operar caso da fileira do eucalipto em Portugal. I will try to translate management of reputation and legitimacy to operate, a case study of eucalyptus sector in Portugal. It's very specific, really, for this Portuguese situation, of course, then can be adapted in some situations. It will be presented by Rui Pedro Batista, that is a long career, and he will try probably in the beginning and in the end to make a short resume in English, but it will be presented in Portuguese. So, Rui Pedro Batista have a long career and by managing complex issues with a large and different number of stakeholders. I will try to resume because it's quite long, your experience. And he have been involved in several packages, like with the Carbon Disclosure Project within Navigator, of course, and many other subjects regarding, for instance, the Science-Based Targets Initiative and the ESG risk. Also have a long experience outside, lives in Sweden, United Kingdom, USA, Mozambique, so several experiences also in other countries. And have also a solid financial background. He was a professor of corporate valuation and mathematics of interest rates of finance. And lately, he just finished his PhD in this subject, reputation, management, and legitimacy to operate. So the floor is yours, please.
Good afternoon. The presentation is in Portuguese, but in fact I will translate in English. My supervisor did not enough time to review the English version, so I will try to translate to English, and the study is about the management of reputation and the link between the management of reputation and the legitimacy to operate. And I choose this case, the pulp and paper sector industry here in Portugal. In fact, I started my academic work after finish my degree as a corporate finance and interest rates professor. And when I made my master, my supervisor in that time, Antonio Osorio, said me that there was something that was missing in my master. It was the reputation. The importance of the reputation in evaluation, in the company evaluation. So after 20 years, I finished my PhD, and in fact, I studied this link between the reputation and the valuation and the license to operate. Okay, so I start to, let me start saying something about the world today. It's not enough for the companies have very good balance sheet, very good products, very good market share. It's very important to create a link between the company and all the stakeholders, not only just a few stakeholders, not only with clients, not only with some clients or the government or the communities. In fact, we need to create a very strong link with all the stakeholders. And I try to study this, how the relation between the companies here in Portugal from pulp and paper industry that have, let me say, a challenge. It's Eucalyptus globulus in terms of reputation, because we know that it's one of the best fibers to produce paper and packaging and tissue. But in fact, in terms of reputation, here in Portugal and in some part of Spain, we have a reputation problem. And I fell in love with this problem because when I started to think about this, I thought, how these so very important companies for the country and companies that have the best practices in terms of environment, sustainability, have this reputation problem. And in fact, I work as head of communications and brand in Navigator company, but here, let me make this disclaimer, I'm just a professor of XXVI because this presentation don't compromise Navigator, it's just academic work that I made in my PhD in XXVI, okay? So that was the first question, how this reputation, how the reputation of Eucalyptus globulus and the companies can create, let me say, easily problems for the companies, okay? And we will see. So I start to make a literature review and then make interviews with the stakeholders and analyze during 10 years all the news that was published here in Portugal about Eucalyptus globulus and the relation about Eucalyptus globulus and 10 subjects like the fires, the water, and lots of things. So I start with that, and I will go through the literature review just to say that not only in Portugal, but in all development countries, there are a problem between the reputation and the legitimacy to operate. In fact, when I finished my master thesis, in the United States there was a problem, a reputation problem that was the HARO default. And in fact, that was why Antonio Ortosori, my supervisor in that time, said me, HARO didn't have a problem with the markets or market share. It was a reputation problem. And in fact, the company go through bankruptcy because a reputation problem. We can say in that times, probably in the markets, because my first work was a financial analyst, so I have a background of financial markets and a financial analyst. Why markets value so much the reputation? In that times, 20 years ago, today it's a normal thing. Everybody knows that reputation, it was very important. But have a strong balance, have a strong market share was more important than have a very good reputation. And today we know that everything is important. So let me stop here. I try to create a model that we can use not only in pulp and paper companies, not only in Portugal, but in fact, because it's a PhD, a model that we can use in every industry, in every part of the world, to test this relation between the reputation and the reputation management and the legitimacy to operate. So it's academic thing, so there are lots of very good academics here. I don't go through here, but it was a model that I tried to test and to prove, and in fact, I think I could prove. But the most important thing is this. The companies need to be legitimate. The companies that work, that operate in more development companies have more tough stakeholders, make tough questions and more questions. The companies that have bigger market shares, that have that are bigger, they have more attention for public opinion. And the forest, not only in Portugal, in the United States, in other countries, have a gap of reputation between what they do and how they are perceived. Not only in Portugal, not only in Iberia, in fact, in lots of different countries. And some groups, and in Portugal, very small groups, use some practices, sometimes not legal practices, sometimes not correct practice, to give information to the media and some medias to affect the activity of the companies and say, no, there is a relation between fires and eucalyptus. But can you prove that? Can you use the scientific information to prove that? Oh, no, I don't have information. It's just something that I know. But you are academic? No, I'm not academic. I work at an NGO, and we think that that is like that. And a former journalist in Galicia made a very interesting study about the news that were published in the most important newspapers in Galicia, and comparing with the scientific publications in the same period. It was 10 years too. We need sometimes to have a long period to have enough information and strong information to conclude something. And the conclusions was that the journalists don't know nothing about what are published, what the scientific publications are saying. Because he interviewed the journalists and say, you just wrote that in the newspaper. But 1 year ago, 2 years ago, 3 weeks ago, there were published lots of papers about this and say absolutely different things. And you don't read the papers. It's scientific papers. So the companies buy that. And it was a journalist. So I work as journalist 21 years, during 21 years, and I'm saying that. And I work 21 years as economic journalist and financial and finance journalist and economic journalist. And I know what happens sometimes in the newspapers and TVs. Sometimes people don't have time. Sometimes people don't want to have time. Don't want to check the information, and don't want to write the correct information, or even sometimes put all the information and share all the perspectives about the subject. So that was the first questions. What was the methodology? So, as I said, I made interviews, and I studied the content published here in Portugal, okay? So I start to interview people from different perspectives, financial markets, communities, the government, the local communities, clients, investors, media. And what is really interesting is in every interview, I found something that is very interesting. I make the same question to a guy that works in the sector. And I ask him, imagine this. There is any relation between the increases in fires in forests, in Portuguese forests, and the eucalyptus? No, of course not. And I make the same question to a media, a national TV journalist. And she says, yes, there is. But what is the source of your information? I really don't know. And there was one thing that was very interesting during this period, that this journalist, I interview lots of journalists, but for the thesis, I choose just a very small sample. And this journalist was live in forest fires in Greece, and she was with the microphone and said, as you can see, a very big forest fire here in Greece, and we can smell the eucalyptus. We can smell the eucalyptus globulus here, as you can see the fire, and I can smell the eucalyptus. And I check with my colleagues and say, in this area there is eucalyptus globulus in Greece? No, there is no eucalyptus globulus in eucalyptus. I call her and said, you are saying that, but there is no eucalyptus. I have that information. Can you check, please? And she called me 2 days later and said, in fact, there is no eucalyptus here. But it smells eucalyptus. She smells eucalyptus. So the perception is so strong, that you can see and you can smell it. You can smell it. So I'm saying that because the reputation is something that when are in our senses, it's very strong to change. Because if you say, this smells good, how can I say you that it's not smell good? You think it smells good. It's a perception. Okay, you can think that, another person thinks other thing. And we make lots of interviews in the street. And once in the Avenida Liberdade, for people that are abroad, Avenida Liberdade is one of the main streets in Lisbon, and we are with a microphone and a camera, And we said that we are just making a study for a company, and we make lots of interviews, and the guy was crossing the street, and we said, oh, do you have 5 minutes to speak with us about the forest? Ah, of course. What do you think about eucalyptus in Portugal? For people that don't know Avenida da Liberdade e Marquês de Pombal, but imagine, from Avenida Liberdade to Marquês de Pombal, it's from Marquês de Pombal, from Avenida da Liberdade to Amoreiras, it's more or less 1 kilometer. I don't know, probably. Yeah, probably 1 kilometer or something. And we asked him, what do you think about eucalyptus? And he said, oh, eucalyptus is a horrible thing. Imagine, if you have eucalyptus here, even in Amoreiras, you can see the eucalyptus in the land. And you just make one question, okay? And people could speak what they want. And he stopped and, no, probably in Amoreiras, no, probably 200 meters, probably. And then, no, it's don't make sense because there is underground here and probably 50 centimeters. So in less than 1 minute, it changed from 1 kilometer to 50 centimeters. So, and it started, probably it's not a very good thing, very bad thing, because I used to run in the Monsanto. Monsanto is a park near Lisbon, and there are lots of eucalyptus. Probably it's not a bad thing. Okay, thank you very much. Next. So this is a perception, and people don't know about what are saying and talk. So in these interviews, we in fact understood that if people work in the sector or work near the sector, they have a better perception about the sector. If they don't know nothing about the sector, they say very strange things. And of course, it's what the literature used to say about this. So if you are more closely to the industry, the perception is better about eucalyptus and about the 10 things that we study. Then we go through the news published during 20 years, 10 years. The news and the social media. And what we found, it's the same that the researcher in the Galiza found, that there is no relation between the news and the scientific publications about this. So journalists don't want to study, don't want to make questions, are always speaking with the same persons, And the conclusion was, we will have one day a big problem. And this was in 2016, okay? So it was a long time to finish my PhD. And in 2017, there were big fires here in Portugal, very big fires. And there were something that was a nightmare, of course, first for the families and for the whole country, for all the persons that die more than 100 persons in 1 year in the forest fires in Portugal. And when do we have something emotional, very emotional, and I think that there is nothing more emotional than lost one life, one person, someone, people don't think. People don't want to use scientific information. People don't want the first solution to something. And that's like this, with the fires, the forest fires, or the war, or something else. People don't want to study. Oh, let's stop and think. No. We don't want to stop. We have solutions now. And sometimes the politicians, they need to give solutions to the people. So what was the thesis in 2016 was proved in 2017, because we have big forest fires, and the parliament here in Portugal changed the legislation and said you cannot plant more eucalyptus globulus here in Portugal. So why? oh, let's try to make a big study, Comissão Independente dos Incêndios de Pedrógão. And what the Commission said in the end, that the eucalyptus was part of the solution, not part of the problem. They wrote that. But even with that, the legislation changed in Portugal. Why? Because it was the pressure of the NGOs, through the media, through the public opinion, and of course, through the politicians and through the parliament, and affecting the parliament. So, what was the study about this? Eucalyptus and lands, eucalyptus and fires, eucalyptus and water. People start to say absolutely strange things, absolutely not scientific, to say the least, things. And let me go through the model. And what we found, it was that the model was very strong and proved that when this happens, the politicians change. We studied other cases in the banks and finance in other countries to test the model, and the model, in fact, is very strong. And in Portugal, we have, let me say, we are lucky as researchers, and sorry for use this lucky, because we have this problem in Portugal. So, of course, it's something strange to say lucky when we have this kind of problem. But in terms of research, in terms of scientific knowledge, we have luck because we are made this study and the problem happened. So we are studying the history in front of us. Okay, we have this. So the conclusion is that because the relation between the pulp and paper industry in Portugal was not enough strong with all the communities to stop an attack in case of a nightmare, let me say that, the legislation changed. And now we cannot plant more eucalyptus globulus, area of eucalyptus globulus in Portugal. And one industry that is very important for the country, it's very important for Europe, now have a stop. And a stop that is provoked by reputation, just that. Because we know that you need to find solutions from the fossil products. You need to have solutions from the environment, the use of the land, the fires, okay? And you cannot plant more eucalyptus in Portugal. And that it was a reputation problem. Not a forest problem, not a bio or species, forest species problem. So that was the study. It was very, very interesting. And working in this industry, let me say that it's very privileged to work in this industry because we use this model in lots of other industries. And these have the perfect solution from lots of problems in different areas. But here in Portugal, we have something that is very strange, that when we say eucalyptus globulus, some people say, oh, it's a bad thing. And second question, why? And the second answer is, oh, yeah, I don't know. I don't know, but it's a bad thing. Let me say that it's a bad thing. So it was like, this is
okay. Thank you, Rui Pedro. Thank you, very interesting. I was looking for the clock, but okay, so interesting your subject but we are a little bit running on time, but ladies, it will put just order on time. And next presentation, it is entitled Process Simulation to Support Decision, Troubleshooting and Optimization. That it will be presented by Isabel Pinto. Isabel is a chemical engineer with a PhD in environmental engineering by the Oporto University, and joined REIS, the Research Institute, in 2015. And have been working in several subjects in technical consulting team, supporting industrial operations of the Navigator company, and that includes process optimization, troubleshooting, conducting technical studies to support decision, and process and projects, of course, and with the emphasis on production and environmental topics. So, Isabel, please, the floor is yours. And
Okay.
okay,
Thank you, Ricardo. Thank you, Ricardo. So, first question I want to answer is why process simulation? The mill usually has a process issue, for example, and obviously want to solve it. And with process simulation, we can calculate parameters and process variables to help identify, understand, and hopefully solve the problem. Also, a need or interest in a process change or a new equipment on our installation, and it's always a good idea to know before the impacts on the process, whether they are operational, product quality, economical, environment. And with process simulation, we can predict some values and these impacts and simulate scenarios that don't still exist, and even evaluate different configurations for the process to help make decisions and validate technical proposals from suppliers. After this change or new installation, new equipment is implemented in the mill, it's good to check if the real values are in line with what was predicted, and even identify points to improve and support in the control room to have the process running well and according to what was predicted and expected. So how do we do this? First, understand the problem, then study the process, and we can go two ways. We can try this and simulate more in a more theoretical and computational line, or we can go to the lab and try to simulate the real processes, but at a lab scale. Obviously, we need the information from the mill, drawings, manuals, and if we go through the computer option, we have to draw the process, define inputs, outputs, parameters, converge and validate this simulation, usually based on mill data or sample collection and analysis to obtain other values that are not usually determined in the mill, and then simulate whatever we want. If we go to the lab, we have to define the methods, collect the samples, perform the experiments we want, so we have the answers we need. When we go with computer simulation, we usually use WinGEMS by Valmet, where the GEMS is for General Energy and Material Balance System. And what it does is mass balances and energy balances calculated with blocks. The interesting part of this software is it was developed specifically to simulate pulp and paper production systems. And what we do is create the process using blocks and connecting them with streams, for example, here. And then it calculates the blocks with iterations and converts to a solution in a steady state. So here, an example of how can we do this to washing equipments with the filtrate tanks, the consistency adjustments, and then each operation can be transformed into a block defined by the software, and the project can look something like this. Other type of softwares that here, just to show you in each stream of the model, we can define several parameters like flow temperature, solids, and these parameters can be useful to calculate others like consistency, enthalpy, COD. And much like Excel, we can introduce formulas to make dependencies between the processes, the streams, the equipments, to help us simulate the real process in the mill. So another type of software that we can use, it's chemical equilibrium software. I have an example here, Visual Mintech, it's an open source one. And what it does is we can choose several ionic species to create a system, and then usually it has a database associated with chemical equilibrium constants, thermodynamic constants, and we can calculate, for example, at a given pH and temperature, which species exist. For example, if there are solid species, complexation, or have a speciation of a component over a pH range. In the laboratory at REIS, we can simulate several processes. Here are examples: cooking, lignification, bleaching, washing, paper processes, effluent treatment, which means we can test things like wood species, conditions, chemical charge, new additives or chemicals in a process, washing equipments. We can test different configurations in bleaching, other technologies, just to have the answers we need. Some practical examples of application, mainly in the software side. Here is a case for evaporation. If a evaporation is not operating at expected capacity, especially during time, it's important to know where the problem is or where is the heat transfer being limited, and calculation can help us on that. So the tasks are what I showed previously. We draw the model, we validate it with mill data, and then we calculate what we need. This can be helpful to the mill because it can increase evaporation availability by identifying the point where the problem is, and then help redefine washing sequences, shutdowns, flows to if there is that availability. Also, we can simulate possible future configurations, for example, for a revamp in the area or increase capacity. This is what it looks like. So a detailed model of an evaporation line with the pure steam in red, the secondary steam in orange, then the flow of black liquor in black. And we have all the condensate system, the non-condensable gases. And in this case, we perform some connection between the software, the simulation software, and Excel, which facilitates the inputs and outputs from the software, and it's easier to identify deviations of the model and the real data. And we do this by editing the script in the software. Examples of the results from this type of work: we can calculate transfer coefficients for every effective evaporation, evaporated water, for different time periods that are helpful to give the answers the mill needed, especially where are the main problems and how can they overcome them. Water use reduction is a priority in the pulp and paper mills, and simulation can be helpful to check what happens when we close the circuits, mainly in the bleaching, because it's where the deposit formation is more critical. In this case, the simulation was to check what are the impacts of using bleaching filtrate in pulp unbleached pulp washing, especially chemical consumption and operation risks. Again, we have to draw the process in the software, validate it with mill data, in this case also sampling to get more data, a sampling of pulp, filtrates, liquor that we analyzed in the laboratory, and then simulate the scenarios we want. And this can be helpful to the mill to decide if they should proceed to an industrial test, for example, or not, and in what conditions to minimize the risks. Again, what it looks like, the model. In this case, we have the fiber line, then here a simple evaporation, not like the other, because the goal was different, then recovery, ash treatment, and causticizing. And then complement the work with the chemical equilibrium, where we can check in what conditions the solids are formed, for example, calcium oxalate, or even check the behavior of a system containing calcium carbonate and oxalate at different pHs, so we can understand better the risks of closing the circuits. With all this, we can draw conclusions, estimate the impacts, whether they are positive or negative, and then give solutions to manage the risk of closing the circuits in this case. So another example, this time in the paper machine, so you can see how broad the applications are. In this case, it was trying to simulate the use of water in the condenser during a break that increased. And what's interesting about this model is, unlike the others that calculate the mill balance in steady state, in this case, we introduce, it's a dynamic simulation, so after the simulation reaches steady state, we can introduce an event and then check the system response a bit more, trying to simulate the reality. And this is a model. What happens here? When the break happens, the steam temperature reaching the condenser is going to increase in this graphic in red. Then to control this temperature increase, the flow of water to the condenser will increase and overflow the water tank, hot water tank here. Then when the break stops, the control that is included here in the PID block will try to stabilize the flows. So hopefully this will move, exactly. So the break, the temperature increases, the water responds, and then the break stops. I don't know if you noticed the tank was overflowing, the break stops, the temperature lowers, and the water is trying to compensate. This is just to show this type of dynamic simulation that opens other possibilities, like playing with levels, with stocks, with the responses and the events, and gives another layer to the computer simulation. Yes. So I could show you many more examples. We also do the laboratory simulations. For example, trying to simulate different washing equipments and check what are the chemical consumptions, for example, in bleaching. But just to summarize, we have tools, software tools, laboratory, a team, and we use all these to calculate parameters, stream parameters that are interesting, to estimate things like chemicals consumption or water, steam, equipment's dimensioning, risks. And with all this information, we try to recommend whether it's optimization, to identify areas for improvement, troubleshooting, to understand and solve problems, and even support decision, evaluating different options and process equipment configurations. So if you found anything of what I said useful to you, you can contact us. And thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, Isabel. So next presentation will be about reliability and access management, bringing technical and business fields, the APM journey that will be presented by Paula Branco. That is a reliability and assessment management expert with more than 20 years international experience on large projects as rail, transport systems, offshore renewables, and manufacturing industry like Navigator, so it's my colleague, fortunately. And she is a Master in Science in Mechanical Engineering from Oporto University and MBA from Catholic Portuguese University, and also certification in the Reliability Leader by Assessment Management and Professional Association. So he's acting in the Reliable Team Manager as a APM program leader, and also is mainly devoted to apply reliability engineering by searching opportunities for the increment return of the assessments through sharing and concerted activity among the Navigator company. So please, the floor is yours, and we'll try also again,
Ricardo.
because it's really short in time.
I will try to recover. Thank you, Tecnicelpa. Thank you all for joining the session. One thing is true, I will speak about reliability, assets, and asset management. So I'm also excited with having this opportunity to share what Navigator company, an asset-intensive company, has been doing in the reliability and asset management fields. I don't want to come here and say that we have all figured out. No, this is a journey, and we are in the early phase of this journey. But I think we learned quite a lot, and that's what we would like to say to you today. So, my name is Paula Branco. I will be sharing the stage with Mr. Guilherme Pedroso, a well-known person in the maintenance field from most of you, and I hope you enjoy it. So, Navigator is one of the largest, like I said, industrial physical asset companies in Portugal, with remarkable production and capacity production, in pulp, paper, tissue, and energy. We have 4 industrial sites, one added lately in Spain, Ejea. And we have those, first of all, during these 3 days, we speak about paper making, pulp production, simulation models, reputation, which is also a great asset. What I will speak is about physical assets. And Navigator has them all. I used to say that we have a lot of fun because we have recovery boilers, steam turbines, and we have, of course, the dynamic equipment, the rotating ones, electrical motors, ventilators, and pumps. So, while all these communications, what they have in common is that in the end they will need some of these assets. And that's why we brought this communication about the reliability and the importance of managing these assets. So, Navigator understood that as their industrial sites were becoming more intelligent, the need for having access of the information about the condition of those assets were critical, highly critical for the development of their activity. So that's when asset performance management and the so-called APM that we came here to speak about came because we understood that we need to do something and not continue working with a spreadsheet that was becoming obsolete in 5 minutes. So we started a pilot of this asset performance management in part of the paper machine 1 in Figueira da Foz. And then, of course, we had good results. And then we spread it all to the paper. We made 4 pulp, and we are just now finishing in Aveiro site. So, but before that, allow me to introduce a great team that is beyond this project. I'm working in a group of reliability engineering, corporate team, but we partner with our colleagues from maintenance and from operations, and without them this project was meaningless. We have the challenging mission of implementing this culture of excellence in reliability and asset management by means of getting methodologies, principles, and that's basically our mission is to implement a reliability policy within our mills. Sorry, I forgot to let you know that we have a program called Reliability 4.0, this is very important because we have the reliability, we have the layer for asset management, but we leverage all with the technology and with the digital. That's our main goal. So, according to ISO 55001, I don't like to speak about standards, but it's a roadmap, let us say. What they say is that what this standard says is the asset management is a coordinated activity of an organization to realize value from the assets.
So how can we do that to a company that is asset intensive? Of course, we need the need to reduce unplanned downtimes, increase availability, minimize maintenance costs, reduce the risk of failure. And remember that when these 3 days started on Wednesday, the first conference or the face communication was about risk. We also do our analysis as risk managers. We are not only reliability engineers, but also risk managers. So how can we do this? We find a balance between risk, cost, and performance. That's our main goal. Having the balance of these three main actors, we can have a very good uptime on our assets. But what it is asset performance management? Basically, what we do is we connect information. We connect information, we use principles, and how we started. We draw up a functional specification. We acquire also a solution. This is a GE APM solution. Okay, we have seen a lot of what were available in the market. We started in 2019. Basically, we have here two possibilities, and we choose this one. So the first thing to do was to integrate all the IT that we had in our company, mainly our ERP system. It's the execution of maintenance system where we collect, it's the first maintenance yellow, as I used to say. So it's where we have the notifications and the work orders. We also connected our historian, of course, because it's the way we have the operating context of our assets, and of course the condition monitoring, which is the vibrations. But our main focus was also to capture the information that experienced people that were leaving our company for the qualitative analysis. Of course, the main focus is our assets and, of course, processes. But, okay, speaking about asset performance, but in the end of the day, how it is one of our days. So we have this, more or less, in this wheel of continuous improvement. And before that, this audience knows what it is asset performance management. But if I'm going to communicate to others that don't have this background, they often think that what we are implementing is a software that will manage all the problems that they have. No, it's not true. What we are trying to do is to leverage with this software, but among all is to provide methodologies, principles, mainly reliability equipment related, in order to help us in our maintenance crews. So, and all started by risk, like I said. So what we do with risk? So here is where we do our criticality analysis, okay? So I often say this is how to read and how to write, is to understand the level of importance that our assets have in our mill. Having this done, this is an assessment like you can see. Having this done, we jump to the strategy. What is the strategy? We have those assets that are highly critical. We identify all the failure modes, and we will check if the actions that we have in our maintenance plan. But before that, this is quite important because there are some methodologies that probably I know that you all heard about. It's the failure mode effect analysis and the reliability-centered maintenance. But apart from this, one thing that it was important was the information that we had in our mills allow us to do a current practice review, which was easier because everybody just ran away when I speak about reliability-centered maintenance. But no, as we had our maintenance quite mature, what we did was to understand if our maintenance plan will cover all the risks of the failure modes that were linked to those assets. So, having this all done, the next part is put it in execution. And we did. And this is the layer of digital. our maintenance crews in the field, they implement the strategies that we have been developing. One thing that is true, if you don't put your action plans into operation, you will not see any benefit. So by the time we have concluded our strategies, is put people doing what we included in our plans. So at the moment, our mechanical, power control, lubrication crews, also operations, are doing this by means of a tablet. Well, this is not because it's fashion to have a tablet. This is because we have a better data quality. And one thing we will have is that now we have OKs. Everything is okay. Because a long time ago, we did not have this information. If it is okay, no one will write that it's okay. But for us, it was quite important to have this trend of okays and not okays coming from the rounds. And then my favorite part, which is the analytics. It's the bottom of the wheel. And here it's when all the power of the APM comes. You integrate data sources in one single location. You perform analytics. You, of course, use the technology to understand in the end, what you would like to know. It's the condition of your asset, the real-time condition, the real risk. And then, of course, to do what we do in the end is just influence decisions, isn't it? So, but now we have a way to prove about the decision that we are trying to influence. Again, our main goal, or what we will do in the end, is the right maintenance in the right equipment at the right time. That will result, of course, what our managers want to hear, the lowest cost of maintenance. This is just an example. Of course, for having an holistic decisions, we need to do something with all this data, okay? So we did some algorithms that we call policies in order to understand how in one DORI, like you say, a Dynamic Operational Risk Index, comes in the end. So what we do is use information coming from rounds, from events that comes from our execution maintenance system, also the time series data, and then made some calculation, and we get the condition parameter. We have some weights, and then in the end, you have a dashboard with all your assets saying which is the one that needs your attention. So now our maintenance engineering teams has that possibility by means of a dashboard to understand what is happening on site in terms of bad performance. But why to do all these? What we can do is to make our intervention as soon as possible. What we would like to do is to find a failure between the PF interval. The PF interval is from the potential to the failure. That is our window of opportunity to do something. So, on the right side, you have the vibration pattern. You see, if you try, but trust me, there is a line, a yellow line and a red one. These are thresholds of alarm regarding the vibration condition of this particular asset. As you can see, there is a period of time that they were above. So we understood that, we communicate to our maintenance engineering teams, and we were able to make the replacement of this bearing. It's a carb type from one of our paper machines, and the failure mechanism was fatigue, because it's one of the bearings that was installed since the beginning of the putting in service this paper machine. So with that, and this is a good part, we have a saving. We saved 12 hours of downtime. This, if you convert into money, it's quite a lot. So, and now bridging the technical part with the financial part, we often have to communicate savings. Well, this is not the glorious part of the job, but we have to do it. And we have some pillars for return of investment that we would like to share with you. And you will see how we did in the middle and what are the enablers of the APM to do that. As because I will be presenting this, okay? I will just say that for operational expenditure, the return of the investment for optimization of OPEX, you have the preventive maintenance cost reduction. You have the reliability analysis because you only do what is needed to done. So you can have here a reduction of cost of some of the preventive maintenance. Of course, the spare cost optimization is also one of our aims. We use Monte Carlo distribution for calculating spares, and with this, we also have here a possibility for optimization. But another one that is very important is the productivity. It's with our maintenance crews being more effective doing their job. So we provide dashboards, rounds, as you saw in the movie. Of course, the work prioritization is something that we absolutely have to have, and the uptime, no need to comment. The root cause failure analysis is the most classic process within the reliability and more mature in the Navigator, and it's an enabler that provides also uptime. And then the visibility, because this is data transparency by means of the dashboard, informed decision making, and my favorite, access to information to all, because we are all risk managers, we are all reliability engineers, sorry to let you know, but you are all like me. So it's important to have this information to do something and to speak with our colleagues. So, final remarks. One thing that you have to have is support from your senior leadership, and we have it. Our CEO, our COO are always looking for some savings. If it is savings, what have we progress? And this is nice to have, because we understand that this is quite important for us. To do a transformational effort like this, you have to take some assumptions. It's not easy. I'm always making some assumptions. APM is a great step to support it, but it's not your final destiny. Like I said, if you don't put into operation those strategies, you will not earn anything. And then I think that you have to start small, like we did, a proof of concept in one part, 2,000 assets. And I forget to tell you, we are finishing Aveiro with more than 32,000 assets being classified with their level of importance classified. We started with 2,000 in paper machine 1 in Figueira da Foz. So learn and then spread it. I think that's the best. The data integration, I'm not on this part of the business, but okay, one thing that I can tell you is quite challenging. It's not easy, and it takes time. So have that into consideration. Speak with your colleagues from IT. We have developed a lot of metrics for risk, and only having this cooperation between the reliability engineers and our colleagues of IT, we can be much more successful. And keep measuring the success, okay? And communicate that frequently, because this is important. And a reliability engineer only celebrates things that did not happen, okay? Because we made our task. So it's not easy. So the best of it is to communicate all your achievements. And now, independent on your organization maturity and what concerns to reliability and asset performance management, they merely define your starting point, not where you will reach. And this is my personal advice. Dare yourself to be different. Start drawing up your journey. And this is a transformational effort. Transform your thinking. Start asking questions. See things in a holistic way. There is no receipt for reliability and asset management. Develop models, prove concepts. Sometimes you have to fail. But first of all, you never change things by fighting the existing reality. build a model that puts that model obsolete, and then I think you will have your way. Thank you. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Paula, and it was really interesting, this finalization. So we are quite run on time, so we should conclude, but no, it was very, very nice. So before to go to coffee break in this room just near to us, the Romeo room, I will now already remember some announcements. So we will have coffee break. And then at 16:30, we'll have the CEO's forum. That normally with the high expectation, because you knew about market, threatness, opportunities, of course, because some threatness normally also give us some opportunities. And since that we are quite short and invading already the coffee break, but I will open the floor for three, 4 questions, but please be as quick as possible.
Thank you. Pedro Silva from Navigator. To Paula, I don't have any questions. We leave these every week. We know how it works. It looks good on slides, but you don't realize the work that is behind these slides. We know, but you mentioned it in the end, but it's really a lot of work, but it also results in the end, and that's what we expect. But for Rui, it was very interesting to hear a different perspective of the eucalyptus issue. It was very, very interesting. My question is it fair and possible to use the same techniques to invert this reputational problem? So are these same weapons or media weapons, let's say, useful and productive in order to change the view of the public opinion? And is it fair to use them or not?
Yeah, the short answer is for sure. And when we see the tendency between 2017 and last year, the reputation improved in a better way. So after the fires, the forest fires, the big forest fires in 2017, people start to speak about the forest in Portugal. And when they start to speak about, lots of people start to search about. And in media today, there are different perspectives. Lots of people saying the problem is not the species. Okay? The problem is not eucalyptus. The problem is the management, the way we manage the forest. So in the short way, yes, and it's improving, and I think we'll improve because we have absolutely incredible companies here in Portugal in this industry. So we have the most important thing, that we really do the things in the best way possible.
Thank you. And I think you agree if I add that everyone in this room and in this conference has a role to play, to change things. So thank you. And to Isabel, I also have a question, more technical. How do you see the complement of these techniques based on balance, based on physics, with the modeling based on data, so the machine learning? Are you using already some complement studies to add to these ones that you showed to us?
No, but I think it's probably the next step, and I think you are the best person to help us on that.
We have to do it. That's the message.
Any further question? Okay, we have...
It's okay if I
please.
continue. So thank you all 3 presenters for excellent and very interesting presentations. I have a very specific technical question for Isabel. So you mentioned the equilibrium calculations for aqueous solutions. So in the context of pulp and paper, do you typically see that assuming ideal aqueous solutions is enough, or do you have to typically go into non-ideal solutions with like Pitzer or Davies formalism?
No, with the aqueous system is just an approximation. It doesn't consider adsorption to the fiber, so that has to be complemented. We had some work done in this area to complement windjams. In that type of simulation, we're still working on that.
Do you see any like potential benefits for considering like more detailed, non-ideal ionic calculations for process waters in pulp and paper?
Yes, I think it's one of our limitations for simulation, and yes, I think that is very, very important to understand the systems and give more accurate responses, answers to the problems, especially in the case of deposit formation and those kinds of problems in the fiber line and even in the recovery line.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, we still have time for one more question. Any question? Oh, everybody thinks that needs some coffee. Okay, I will just, and referring what Pedro said about that all of us, we have an important role to defend, and sometimes with family, I figure out that what kind of information can we collect if something we don't know about to transmit the correct information, what is possible, what is already available to study a little bit and to transmit in the correct way.
Thank you for the question. Let me start saying this. I know the numbers of Navigator, so we need to have the numbers of the other companies. We have 3,100 colleagues. We have more than 7,000 suppliers in Portugal. We are in 130 markets. We send and receive millions of emails every year. We make lots of meetings, calls. In fact, all the colleagues are working every day. The colleagues that are in the forest, the colleagues that are working in the sales, in marketing, in research, they are sharing the information. But sometimes people that are on the other side don't want to listen. Why? Because forest, it's not a sexy subject in Portugal. I started working after my degree in Stockholm, in Sweden. And in Sweden, the forest is everything. Everything. Because it's energy, it's stables, it's food, it's everything. So the culture in terms of forest, the culture, it's different here in Portugal from Sweden. But it's improving a lot. And all the colleagues are working a lot, yes. And sharing information, yes. We can make more, doing more, yes. But in fact, the reputation and how the people sees and have the information about the industry is changing. And it's changing not only after the forest fires, but because we don't have another planet. And when you think that, we understand that the forest is a solution. And these companies, the suppliers, all the companies that work in the industry are a solution. And people start to know that, understand that, and defend that.
Thank you very much. So, if there are no more questions, please, next door, the coffee break, and as I said, sharp 16:30 for the forum, CEO forum. Thank you.